In the journey of self-discovery and self-acceptance that many queer individuals experience, we often find ourselves vulnerable to external influences. At some point, we've all felt that draining energy in the presence of certain people, those who seem to suck away our vitality, manipulate our emotions, or leave a trail of confusion and doubt wherever they go. For the queer community, this dynamic can be even more intense. Many of us grew up questioning our own perception of reality due to the lack of representation or the constant invalidation of our experiences. This can make us more vulnerable targets for manipulative people who take advantage of this insecurity to exert control. As the Stoic philosopher Epictetus said, "It is not things themselves that disturb us, but our opinions about them." Today, let's uncover together how to identify these people and, more importantly, how to preserve our inner peace using the ancient wisdom of Stoicism adapted to our experiences. Seneca, one of the great names in Stoicism, wrote, "No slavery is more disgraceful than voluntary slavery. When someone reduces you to just your sexual orientation or gender identity, turning it into an exotic curiosity or a diversity token, they are attempting to enslave your authenticity. These people appear as allies, but their interest is superficial. They use phrases like, 'You don't look gay,' 'I've always wanted to try with someone non-binary,' or 'You'd be my perfect gay friend.' They seem like compliments, but in reality, they're ways of reducing the entire complexity of your existence to a single aspect that amuses them or makes them feel progressive. For Stoics, our human dignity is inviolable. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, reminded us, "Look within. There you will find the source of good, always ready to gush forth if you dig deep enough." Your LGBTQ+ identity is a precious part of who you are, but it is not an accessory to entertain or educate others. When you notice that someone is more interested in the label you carry than the person you are, remember, the value of your experience does not depend on the validation of those who fetishize it. As Epictetus would say, it is impossible for someone to learn what they think they already know. Stay away from those who think they know everything about you based only on stereotypes about the community. One of the most painful forms of manipulation that queer individuals face is what's called conditional love, the kind that exists only when you behave in a way that doesn't make others uncomfortable with your authenticity. "I support you, but you don't have to be so gay in public. I accept you as a lesbian, but why do you have to dress like that? I have no problem with trans people, as long as they're not obvious." These statements reveal a superficial acceptance that hides a deep rejection. These are people who offer crumbs of validation in exchange for your silence and invisibility. Like skillful manipulators, they make you feel you should be grateful for the partial approval you receive when, in fact, they are simply controlling your expression. Marcus Aurelius warned, "Live each day as if it were your last, without frenzy, without apathy, without pretense." The Stoics valued the authentic life above all. Don't trade your truth for acceptance conditioned on how much of yourself you're willing to hide. This type of manipulator often presents themselves as a progressive ally, but in reality, they are just tolerating aspects of your identity that don't bother them. True support never comes with asterisks or conditions. "You're not really asexual, you just haven't met the right person. This is just a phase, you're confused. You never showed signs when you were a kid. You just want attention." These phrases exemplify a particularly cruel form of manipulation called identity gaslighting, making you question your own perception and experience. For LGBTQ+ people, who have often spent years navigating self-discovery, having their reality invalidated can be devastating and open doors for manipulators. Your help is essential for us to continue with relevant and meaningful topics that strengthen our mind, our energy, and help us become stronger in facing life's adversities. Subscribe, like, we count on your support. Zeno, the founder of Stoicism, taught that wisdom consists in knowing what is and what is not under our control. Your identity and your inner experiences are under your control. Other people's opinions about them are not. Manipulators use this technique to weaken your confidence in your own perceptions, making you dependent on external validation, specifically their validation. They position themselves as authorities on your life, suggesting that they understand you better than you do yourself. How to combat this? Epictetus would say, if someone hands you over to the judge, you can remain composed. Why not when someone tries to criticize your identity? Strengthen your inner certainty. Document your experiences. Connect with other queer people who validate your reality. The truth about who you are does not require external consensus. You're not like other gays, you're more discreet. Why do you need to associate with trans people? It hurts the gay image. Bisexuals are the worst, aren't they? Never make up their minds. Triangulation is a tactic in which the manipulator tries to create divisions within the LGBTQ+ community, isolating you from potential support systems. They praise you at the expense of other groups, trying to make you feel special or different from the radicals or problematic ones. Seneca warned, "Where there is disunion, there is vulnerability." When someone tries to separate you from your community or create hierarchies of acceptability between marginalized groups, they are trying to weaken the collective power that exists in solidarity. The manipulator knows that an isolated person is easier to control. Therefore, they will try to convince you that you don't need to associate with those people, distancing you from those who could offer genuine support and understanding. The Stoics believed in the interconnection of all people. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "What is not good for the hive cannot be good for the bee." Our individual liberation is intrinsically linked to collective liberation. Be wary of those who try to break these community bonds by offering individual privileges at the expense of solidarity. For many trans, non-binary, or even LGB people who do not conform to gender expectations, the concept of passing, being perceived as cisgender or heterosexual, can become a tool of pressure and control in the hands of manipulators. If you really wanted to be taken seriously as a trans, man, you'd cut your hair this way. No one will respect you as a lesbian if you keep wearing makeup. You'll never be accepted if you keep acting so feminine. These seemingly well-intentioned comments are, in fact, attempts to control your personal expression under the pretext of caring about your social acceptance. The manipulator positions themselves as a wise guide who knows better than you how you should present yourself to the world. Epictetus reminds us, it is necessary to care more for the opinion of the one wise man than for the multitude of ignorant people. The value of your identity is not in how well you fit into society's expectations, but in your authenticity. I'm concerned you're labeling yourself too soon. I'm only saying this because I care about you and don't want you to suffer prejudice. It's as hard for me to deal with your transition as it is for you. Toxic individuals often present themselves as victims when confronted about harmful behaviors. They turn your legitimate criticism into attacks against them, reversing the dynamic and making you feel guilty for setting boundaries. For queer people who often carry internalized guilt, this tactic can be particularly effective. These harmful people know that you don't want to hurt anyone's feelings, and they use that against you. Marcus Aurelius warned, "When you wake up in the morning, think of the precious privilege of being alive, to breathe, think, enjoy, love." Your authenticity is non-negotiable for the comfort of others. As Stoicism teaches, we focus on what is within our control, our actions, our values, and our responses to circumstances. Epictetus taught, "No one is free if they are not the master of themselves." Cultivate the ability to validate your own identity and experience. This does not mean isolation, but developing an inner source of strength that reduces your vulnerability to external manipulation. Practice daily self-affirmation. Recognize your inherent worth, regardless of others' approval. As a queer person, you've already demonstrated immense courage by living your truth. Marcus Aurelius said, "The best revenge is not to be like your enemy." Setting boundaries is not about hostility, but about self-preservation. When someone tokenizes your identity, offers conditional acceptance, or tries to manipulate your reality, you have the right and the duty to yourself to say no. Communicate those boundaries clearly. "I'm not comfortable when you talk about my identity this way," or "My sexuality is not up for debate." If the person continues to disrespect these boundaries, allow yourself to reduce or end contact. As Seneca warned, Do not trust those who praise everyone, beware of those who criticize everything, and be cautious of those who are indifferent to injustice. Observe the patterns of behavior, not just isolated words. Toxic people often reveal themselves through inconsistencies between what they say and what they do. Trust your intuition. As a queer person, you've likely developed a sharp sensitivity to detect inauthenticity, a valuable skill in identifying toxic people. The Stoics valued the idea of oikeiosis, the recognition of belonging to a greater community. Seek people who celebrate who you are in your entirety, not just selected aspects of your identity. A genuine community offers honest mirrors, not distorted by manipulation. They reflect your truth back to you, helping to strengthen your resistance against those who would try to make you doubt yourself. To reinforce our reflection, let us remember the powerful words of Marcus Aurelius. Live a good life. If there are no gods, then you will have lived a noble life that will leave its mark on the world. If there are gods, then you will have lived a life that honors them. As a queer person, you've already shown immense courage by living your truth in a world that doesn't always value it. The same courage that allowed you to accept and express your identity can be channeled to recognize and resist manipulation. Your journey of self-discovery has bestowed wisdom that few possess, the ability to look beyond appearances and find the inner truth. Use that wisdom to discern who deserves a place in your life. Remember, oppressive people thrive in secrecy and confusion. By naming these tactics and sharing these reflections with other community members, you not only protect yourself, but strengthen an entire network of resistance against manipulation. As Epictetus taught, difficulties are what show people's qualities. The queer community has faced difficulties for generations, and in each challenge we emerge stronger, wiser, and more authentic. Share this knowledge with other queer people who may be facing oppressive individuals. Together, inspired by the ancient wisdom of Stoicism and strengthened by the modern resilience of the rainbow community, we can build more authentic and protective relationships.